All right, everybody, it is Mental Health on the Mic. I'm Bennett,
And I'm Lorraine.
and we are excited to be here for another great episode. It's just us this time, but I'm
It's
so
just us.
excited because we get to catch up. We get to talk about what we've had going on so far this season. We've got an exciting episode to
Yeah.
bring today. So, first off, Lorraine, how's it going? How's your week been? Talk to me.
Yeah. It's been one of those busy weeks, a lot of things back to back.
Hmm.
But that's just kind of life as a high school student in March. March is
Yeah.
a very busy month. So, if you're also a high school student like me, I hope you're doing well out there because it's getting hectic and busy for sure. But it's been a good week overall. I'm pretty good. How are you, Bennett?
I'm okay. Well, first off, let me just point out the high school thing. Yeah, not to mention your junior year, always the probably the
Oh
hardest
yeah.
year for most people. And we actually last week our episode we had on my friend Sam, who's also in high school. We had a really
Mm,
cool conversation about high school. I got a
yeah.
lot out of that. I thought that was a pretty fun episode.
I loved it. I think it was really cool having another high school student on the mic because I don't think we really had that yet. So
Yeah, and Sam, if you're listening, I know I've told you this many times, but I was so like just impressed with you and blown away, and you had so many great points. So shout out to you if you're listening, and if not, you
shout
guys should
out.
definitely check out our episode called High School because it's really cool. And since you asked how I'm doing, I would say I'm okay, Lorraine. I think that I had like a tough night kind of where I just like got into my feelings, and I will actually talk about that on this episode. So stay tuned for that. We all have those nights where all of a sudden everything feels like it's kind of crumbling and it's like, oh my God, and you feel all the things at once. That's how my night was last night. And then today I've kind of been a little better. I've been enjoying the nice weather where I am. I don't know what it's like where
Mm.
you are, but
Oh my God. No, today was like probably the most beautiful day we've had since like for 2022, like this year. It was beautiful, sunny, blue skies, no cloud in sight. Like it was gorgeous, like mid 60s. It was beautiful.
that's awesome because honestly, weather can really affect people's mental health. You hear about seasonal depression. Winter,
Mm,
heck, I think it's
yeah.
probably exciting for a lot of people that are heading into spring now because, and I want to say if I'm correct, so if I'm wrong, sue me, but I believe this episode is coming out the first day of spring. So if that's the case, then what a way to celebrate spring, right? You can
There you go.
listen to us talk about mental health. And speaking of which, let me tell you what we're doing this week. So I'm really excited again. Lorraine's just us. So we're going to bring back something we did in season two called Topic Improv. So you want to explain what Topic Improv is to the listeners?
Yeah. We come up with a bunch of like a plethora of topics and I randomly select one and we go in a really random order. Like we have no really set plan, it just kind of happens. And we get to talk about a lot of different topics and just like go on and go in depth about them.
Yeah, it is fun because you don't know where you're going to start or where you're going to end up,
Right.
because you don't know the
Right.
order. We do know the topics. I'm going to read them for you, Lorraine, and then you can tell me which one you want to start with. You have the
Yeah.
power here. You can
I have the
literally
power.
determine the fate of this show. Well, we're going to cover it
I
all, so
I feel very ready to be in this role.
good, good. All right, so we've got five topics here. One
Okay.
topic is pressure to succeed. The next is just be kind. Then we've got struggles of comparison, and then focus on yourself, and finally, mental health and pop culture. So, what are
Mm.
we feeling?
I'm feeling comparison right now.
Okay. Um, so comparison, right? I think we all do it. I think it's one of those kind of
Mhm.
unhealthy things that we all do. I certainly have had, my share of probably years worth of just seeing other people and thinking, man, like they have something I don't, or they, I'm lacking something that they
Mhm.
have, and measuring yourself based on other people, which I feel like is like it is kind of unhealthy because we're all on our own journey, and yet it's very easy to look around us, but all the other people on their journeys and think, should I be where they are? Am I not there when they should be there? Am I behind? What's your initial reaction when you hear the word comparison, Lorraine?
It's a hard like I think cycle to break because once you're in that mindset, it is very damaging because it's no longer about you, it's about everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about social media many times on this show, and I think it's
Mhm.
necessary because social media
Right.
kind of everything revolves around it. But actually, I'd say a difference between where we were when we put that episode out. I've actually spent a lot less time on social media lately. I honestly I've barely been on Instagram this week, and last week I really cut down my time. I think I don't know. I think, quite simply put, it messes us all up because we see it's one thing to go out in public and see people. It's a whole nother to have
Mhm.
so many people that you don't even know half the time on your screen. And it's everything. It's how they look, how they act, how many friends they have. Are they in a relationship? What are they doing with their life? What's their job?
Right.
And, I think that for me, my God, that was awful. Like listeners have followed sort of my college journey. And when I was missing out, like part of it was I felt like I was missing out on school because everybody was posting pictures from their colleges, having fun, going out on the weekends. And at the same time, school wasn't the right thing for me at the time. So it's like, I know I'm on the right path, but I let social media and that comparison, affect me because
Mhm.
I would see people having fun and I'm like, that looks like fun and I'm not there.
Right.
Am I not doing something right? you know and I don't know, I just think that in many ways comparison is so unhealthy and yet we all do it. Kind of going outside the social media world, I think about I think actually when we're younger, like before we get to
Mhm.
social media, I think like, okay, I'm thinking about middle school. I'm thinking about that time. I mean, we talked about high school last week. We could probably do a
Yeah.
whole episode on middle school because honestly, middle school is like the most brutal time for most
That was
people
rough. Yeah.
when it comes to bullying and comparison. And like I I don't know. I've kind of reflected on this lately. Like the school that I went to, it was a K-12 school, and like
Mhm.
I um I kind of felt like the environment was had so many different people, and I found myself comparing like financial status with people, which is
Mhm.
like very real thing, which I'm honestly kind of happy to talk about because I'm like I took me a long time to realize like how I wasn't thankful for what I had. And without getting into like personal details about how much or little money I have, it's
Mhm.
just like it's a very real thing that you go to school with people and see some kids that have more than you and some kids that have less. So
Mhm.
like I wasn't grateful enough for what I had at the time. Like I would compare to kids who on top of having this huge house, they went on all these vacations, but I didn't go on as many vacations. Or, you know, they they got to do things like the school would organize trips, like to like they organized a school trip to Italy, and it wasn't going to work out for me to go. And
Right.
I compared to the kids who got that opportunity, and I literally was like, I realized at the end of the day, it's like, do I really want to go to Italy or do I want to just do this because other kids are doing it? And I think that
Mhm.
really at any age that's common. And I think that as a society, we just gravitate towards what everybody else does. And I think the real question is, why does everybody do it? Like who started the trend? Like why is everybody
Mhm.
dressing a certain way? Why is it cool to act this kind of way? Why is this kind of music cool to listen to, but this kind isn't? You know, um, why are these activities more fun than this activity? Why are you a nerd if you do this, but you're cool if you play sports? Like,
Right.
oh, you're into computer science, oh, you're a nerd. But if you're a jock, you're cool. It's just I know we've talked last week too about labels and boxes and how we think they're stupid, but I think it's
Yeah.
real easy to look at other people and think, oh, are they better than me?
Right. And I think it's interesting because you can talk about the follower and leader thing where,
Yeah.
you know, there's if you stand out amongst the crowd, you're at risk of, being looked at funny and like, why are they the only one who's not doing this? Well, we're all doing that. And I I would love to encourage more people just to be that little odd duck, if you want to call it, because it's like if everyone's doing the same thing, if everyone's following the same trend, whether that's clothes or um music choice or anything along those lines, it doesn't make life interesting anymore. Like if
No.
everyone's doing the same thing, we're all molding to the same person. And who wants to live in a world where there's like 15 Bennett's or 15 like Lorraine's? Like it doesn't it's not fun anymore. Like I feel like what's so cool about life is that you're going to meet so many new people and so many different people. Like everyone has their own persona, what they like, what they dislike. And if everyone just is like following this one thing or following a group of people, we're all going to lose ourselves at the end of the day. And who wants to live with that life? I don't.
I don't either. I was the oddest duck in the pond when I was in middle school, even a little bit of high school. And looking,
Oh,
I remember
really?
I remember how brutal it was at the time and how much I love who I was now. versus how much I didn't
Mhm.
like myself back then. I mean, you know, I never listened to the same music as everybody else. I was the only guy who was into like pop dance music like Nicki Minaj and Kesha and
Mm,
Britney Spears and
so how was like what was your mindset in middle school? Was it that you like were you proud of yourself for standing out, or was it did you feel judged? What was it like?
I knew exactly who I was, but I felt judged.
Okay.
All the other guys were tried to be so like cool and like
Mm-hmm.
and what they thought was masculine and like whatever. And we're talking middle
Right.
school here. We're not even, we're not grown ups or whatever, but like the word macho or whatever, like playing sports and being into skateboarding, and I guess that is a sport too. I was and still am obsessed with American Idol, so I'm always talking about that
Mm-hmm.
show. I was obsessed with Victorious and iCarly, which we both are.
For me, that was considered quote unquote okay.
Yeah.
But then if you told your guy friends like, "Hey, I watched Victorious last night,"
Yeah.
they'd be like taken aback, like it's a problem,
Right.
which it never should have been. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
No,
Because
I
it's
got
not a girl show; it's anyone's show.
yeah,
You
no.
know
And
what
I
I mean?
oh yeah, and I remember like I was really into stickers. I love stickers. I would bring a binder to school and I'd put stickers on them, like letters with different colors, and you can only
Oh my
imagine
god. I
the
was I was into stickers too, but like I would get them from the doctor's office. Like they
yeah.
give you like a little sticker after you're done, and I would
Yeah.
stick them on my parents' car window.
Yeah.
And I would just like fill the whole window up, and then they'd have to like get a scraper and like scrape it off. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember like I put my name on my binder and all these different stickers and different colors, different lettering and everything, and all
Mm-hmm.
the guys that think I'm weird and like, let's be frank here. They're like, "Oh, it's so girly." First of all, I don't care. Like I think at the time it's like you're in middle school, and frankly, the sad thing is that people were a lot more judgmental, and things have gotten better now, but like, gender stereotypes and
Mm.
getting called a certain word, which I'm not going to say, but
Oh
I
yeah.
think you all can guess based on context clues, which were not who I was, but it's like, to be put in that position where like you're even made to feel like that would be a bad thing if you are. And like
Right.
luckily the world's changed a lot since then, but we still have work to do, and like just let people be themselves, like
I know.
let me be my sticker loving Nicki Minaj music loving and or
Yeah.
Kesha and all that dance pop stuff that guys said was for girls and TV shows that were for girls. Let me be that guy and just
Just
be
let you live. I
yeah.
don't understand. I'm really glad to hear that you're so proud
Yeah.
and you were proud of who you were in that time, because middle school is such a time where everyone should be allowed to find themselves and not feel judged. But unfortunately, that's kind of how the environment was, at least for us.
Yeah.
I can't speak on how it is now, but I'm sure it probably is still going on for many people who, I don't know if you're in middle school, but if you're watching this,
Yeah.
take the lead of Bennett and Lorraine.
Yeah.
Don't follow. Do your own thing and own it. And
Exactly.
I guarantee you, like I'm so proud of myself in high school because I didn't let people coerce me into doing something I didn't like because everyone else is doing it. And Bennett didn't let himself, slip off and do what everyone else is doing. And so we're both really proud of ourselves. So um just if you're in middle school, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, um just keep doing you because you're gonna feel it later that
that
you'd be glad that you did.
I don't know if I can even remember how it's like I knew who I was. I don't know if I was necessarily as proud of myself now as I was in like in that moment. I think I probably felt a little bit embarrassed because like back
Oh, I'm
then, like
sure.
when I got picked on and stuff. But since then, I've become proud of who I am, and I've seen without shading anyone in particular. I've seen the trajectory of people who weren't nice to me and what they're up to now and the kind of people they've
No,
become. And I think
exactly.
like I won this freaking race at the end. I was the slow and steady turtle.
No, yeah. Your actions will follow you. Like if you are a good person, you will continue to be that good person. But I do find that people who were not the nicest back then, they're struggling a bit.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
yeah.
remember you've mentioned before. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, but I don't remember if you were in middle school or when it was. You said you went to like a bullying conference. I wonder if you'd want to
I
share more
did.
about that.
Yeah. So I don't remember what grade this was. I want to say it was the summer leading into 7th grade.
Okay.
It was hosted by a local college, and our guidance counselor invited like a select few of students who thought that they would be good leaders. I was actually like, before that, I was trained to be like a peer mediator. So I did this
Oh.
like 3-day thing in school where we're in this conference room with notebooks and everything, and we were just taught how to mediate peers, meaning, if two peers had a conflict, how to help guide them to a solution, and avoid you know intense arguments and bad things being said to one another. So I did that, and then I think that prepared me, or it allowed me to be selected for this anti-bullying conference. So it was a couple kids from my school and a couple kids from other schools, and it was during the summer, and it was like a week-long thing. We would come in the morning and be there all day, and they'd have PowerPoints and just talk about what it means to be an upstander, meaning not just watching and letting things happen, but if you see something, you say something, that kind of thing, and learning how to um, step up for someone if they're incapable in that moment. Like if you see someone being, you know, attacked or bullied, you know, in that situation, the victim is not, sometimes will not feel powerful enough to stand up for themselves. And so that's when you build school leadership. And if you see something, go in there and help that person, stand up for them, get them out of that situation, not let them, you know, go through it alone. So it was eye-opening. We did a lot of different exercises. We just learned collectively how to be better school leaders for our peers. And I really enjoyed it. We had a little Instagram account
Oh.
with like our school united. And then we had like a blue shirt day where we all wore blue because it was our school color. And we handed out anti-bullying bracelets. And I remember we had a little assembly in the auditorium where we all watched clips, and it was a really cool experience because at such a young age I felt so proud of myself for being able to do something like that, and to um it I think it really was a big part of how I like my maturity level, but also just growing as me as a person, because I think it was eye-opening seeing problems I wasn't fully seeing
Mm.
before. Because as like a middle school student, people are mean, but that's really all you know. You don't really learn about anxiety. You don't really know in depth what people are going through. You don't know the motives of why someone might bully someone. Like those things aren't talked about. And so doing that conference really opened my eyes. And so I was really proud to do it. And I'm proud to talk about it today because young me was just like, oh my
Oh.
God. But I loved it. And I wish we kept some of the things that we implemented in the middle school. I don't know if they're still doing it, but um I was really proud of the work that we did. And if kids took it seriously, I'm really glad they did. I know some kids didn't really care about what we were doing, and
Joke's
so
on
that kind of
them.
sucks. But I think it was a really cool experience to be in like a college, and having people come in from the local city and just talk to us. I think the governor even came in one day and would talk to us, which was a really cool experience. So
Wow, that's an honor. I'm proud of you. I mean, that's amazing.
thank
I'm like
you.
I'm like
Thank
BRB,
you.
going to see if that Instagram account's still active. Like, I don't
It
know.
is. It is.
Oh, I
I
bet.
will tell you the at after.
Put in the show notes
I will
too, get
not share
everybody.
it because it has my school information on it.
Oh,
But
oh yeah.
if you were part of that group, you know,
That's cool though. That's what you said. Like being a leader, you see things you don't always see, you don't always understand until you
yeah.
really get in the trenches. That's really cool.
And I'm still a certified peer mediator. So if anyone, I'm kidding. Um, no, but it was. I liked middle school was a time of learning myself, but also learning new things about other people
Mm,
and how to help other people.
it's
And
amazing.
honestly, if I had a choice, I would make that conference open to anyone and any student, because even though like I was selected for like, you know, personality reasons, I think it would have been beneficial for anyone to take that course, because I think if people understood what other people were going through, I think the drive to be mean would diminish for many
Yeah.
people if they really understood what their words and actions did. But
Yeah. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna just segue this right into another topic. I'll kind of
okay.
take it away from the improv format, but use a topic because I think it goes into the next another one that's on the list, which is just be kind. That's another
Mm,
topic we had.
yeah.
Because like whether it's middle school or you're 40 years old, I mean, there's so much negativity. And I think we should talk about where that comes from and where
Mhm.
by the way, I mean, all this really gets into mental health. I mean, God, bullying is such a big thing with that. And I feel
Mhm.
like, when we were, I mean, probably more so for you because of the work you got to do, but certainly when I think about how mental health wasn't even really such a big phrase, at least when I was in middle school. And frankly, I think schools are still doing work. We talked about it last week with Sam. Um, you know, so much of kids at that age, we don't fully grasp what our mental health is, or we may not even know if we have anxiety or depression, but because of the bullying, it all kind of falls under mental health. So I think it's extremely topical.
Yeah.
But getting into just be kind, our next topic here. I mean, uh, yeah, like why are people so judgmental when they can just like why do they have to go the extra mile to make somebody's day miserable? It's just selfish, really, that some people think that they can say something or do something and it's not going to have a real impact, right? It's like if you think you're just leaving a little scratch, but you're actually going to be leaving a bruise. Like I hate to say that and it actually be true in a physical sense if there's like physical harm or whatever, but
Right.
even just
Yeah.
verbal wounds, it's like not enough people have figured out that words really can hurt.
And I think what's even worse is when they know it is, when they
Mm,
know what the impact is going to be,
yeah,
but they do it anyway.
yeah,
And it's just like, wow.
yeah.
And then you question, what is going on in their life
Mm-hmm.
that makes them feel so miserable that it's, the only resort is, let's make someone feel equally or even worse than I do. Because if I do that, then I might feel just a tad bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just selfish. So it's a really I can't even have words to describe what that makes me feel.
Yeah.
Because I went through it. I experienced bullying. I don't think I opened up about this on the podcast, but in middle school there was a whole like Instagram account made just to, you know, make me feel small and make me feel not important and not deserve to live. If we want to be like completely transparent,
Mm,
I'm not going to repeat messages that were on there, but it was bad.
mm.
um Distorted images of myself and words that I don't want to say on here. But it was rough, and I'm sure many people have had cyberbullying happen too, because we're in that age like we talked about where kids in middle school had phones, and that opens them up to do a plethora of things that they don't want to do in person.
I think I always have said that with every act of meanness, if you will, there's a little, well, it could be little or it could be big, but there's a seed of fear. Meaning I think it's a weird experience to, if we're talking a lot about like middle school being younger, or even, what, this applies to adults too. I think
Yeah.
evil comes from fear. And you know as hard as it is to, I mean, I don't know, I can't imagine what you were feeling at the time when that account was made, because there's no, you can't be in that moment and think to yourself, oh well, they're just insecure, or they're just like maybe
Right.
even
No.
jealous, because it's so painful. You can't, I mean, you're emotionally not able to see
Yeah.
the deeper subconscious truth behind why these people are doing that. But you know, I I seriously wonder, as cruel as things people say and do are, it's like it comes from that fear, you know?
Right.
I'd say a perfect example. I don't know how many people listening have seen the show Glee. It's been over for several years now, but it was a huge show from 2009 to 2015, and they tackled a lot of real issues that were kind of hot topics at the time. One of the main characters was the only openly gay student at his school, and he was being bullied day after day after day. And I'm watching this series for a second time now. That's how much I liked it. And there's a character who throughout the first season was always bullying him, always shoving him into the locker. He's captain of
Mm.
the football team. They use so many awful, gay slurs to talk about these kids. And this one kid, Kurt, who, if you've seen the show, I don't have to explain, but if you haven't, is out and proud, but there's a lot of people
Mm.
who don't accept him, and football players who bully him and push him. And this one character, Karofsky, it's his last name, they call him that. He has been pushing him around all the time, and in this second season I'm on, it's really escalating. He's pushing. Not only he's pushing harder physically, he's saying more and more terrible things and trying to
Yeah.
make him feel smaller and smaller and smaller. And Kurt retaliates and asks, "What is your problem?" And there's a really powerful scene in the football locker room where, as I'm
Mm.
about to punch you, I'm about to punch you, I'm about to punch you, Karofsky kisses him. And you're like, oh, so this football player who's been being terribly mean to him is actually struggling with his own feelings. And
Right.
I mean, sorry if I'm spoiling it, but I just feel like it's important to get this out there. The way the story turned out is that the guy realizes it's okay to be who you are, which is good.
Yeah.
That's what we want to promote here on this show. And he realizes, once he realizes who he is, he's able to rid himself of the evil and,
Hmm.
figure out how to be a good person any way he can. But and that show came out at a time when, like, I mean, I'm extremely passionate about advocating and being an ally for the LGBTQ plus community
Yeah.
because I've seen the suffering that people deal with. And again, times have changed, fortunately, to a degree. Things have
To a
gotten better,
degree.
but I don't want to be I don't want to speak without knowing for sure like what the current state of bullying is like and the statistics for that community. But um I mean, at the time, I mean, there was like this, a lot of the storylines on that show came because there was a lot of, there was a real suicide crisis with that
Mm.
community of gay students being outed on the internet. We'll talk about the internet,
Right.
outed through just awful, awful people who found ways to secretly record them,
Yeah.
exposing them and then committing suicide. Just awful, awful. And the show addressed that, and that's why they did so many of those storylines. But
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know what those people are thinking when the people who cause people to do that to themselves, the bullies, the aggressors. What
Right.
what what is going on in your mind? Do you need to work on your mental health so that you can not take it on other people? What's your fear? What's your insecurity? But but what do you have to say for yourself when you leave somebody broken, wounded, and brutally, if we're being brutal here, sometimes dead? People take their own lives
I
because of this
know.
stuff. I mean, and then what do those people have to say for themselves? Why was there, whether it's let's use the example of taunting gay people. Is the homophobia just too strong that you can't stop yourself from being evil? Or is there something deeper in you? Like, why are you so evil? I don't care what. If people want to bully you because of the way you look, where
Hmm.
you come from, your size, like whatever it may be, the endless list of things that people judge you on. Why can't they just be quiet?
Right.
If they have a thought that's terrible, why can't they keep it to themselves?
It's a big question because it doesn't make sense to the average person. What they do doesn't make sense. There's no excuse for it. Like,
Mm,
yes, we can say, yeah, they're going through stuff. But then we can get on the topic of, okay, so mental health. What do you do for yourself? What positive and safe ways to deal with those things? Bullying is not in that category.
no,
It never was promoted that you should tear someone down to make yourself feel better. There's other ways to make yourself feel better.
right. And then it's like I think it's hard because depending on the level of cruelty of a bully, once you find out what they're really going through, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to wish them suffering is like, then does it make you a bad person for wanting them to like be hurt back, or like are you meant to be a better person in the situation by like not hurting them in return and just letting them figure their stuff out? But like, I guess at the end of the day, they need to get the help too. Like, as important as it
Right.
is for victims of bullying to be treated for the anxiety or the depression that it might cause, or the suicidal thoughts they may have, it's important for the bullies to take whatever's going on in their minds. And I think, at the root of it, I don't want to, I don't, if somebody's a bully, I'd say that I don't want to, be just as cruel by dehumanizing them and thinking, oh, you're a bad person, so go to hell.
Right. Right.
But what I want for you is to get your mental health in check, meaning if you're bullying somebody else, you're probably depressed, insecure,
Right.
anxious, and you don't know how to take any of that out except for hurting other people. And the crazy thing is sometimes it comes out of jealousy. The people that hurt you are jealous of you.
Mm-hmm.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so find it within yourself to improve your life so that you don't ruin or possibly end
Right. If
somebody
you
else's.
improve your life, you are you are improving everyone else's around you.
Right.
Because if you don't do that, you're dragging other people through the mud,
Yeah.
and that just creates a bad environment. And then we talked about like high school and school environments last episode, but like school is like a learning environment.
Right.
And once someone doesn't feel safe
Yeah.
or comfortable in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
how are they going to learn successfully? Because now all that's in their head is like, oh God, when the bell rings, I have to walk through the hall and I might get encountered by this person again.
Right.
Like, that's all that is like, then it just ruins their whole learning experience. And no matter what grade you are, like, it's crucial that, you can focus. And focus gets hard when you feel so unsafe in that environment. And it crushes me because it shouldn't be that way. Everyone should be able to go to school, walk through the hallway, and not be scared that they're going to get slammed into a locker. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Or pushed to the ground. Like, it's awful. It's
Yeah.
awful.
It is awful. I'm gonna break the format rules again, or flush the format, as my favorite radio host Elvis Duran likes to say, because another topic, it just segues right into it. So I'll throw it over to you at
Perfect.
the end. We'll improv at the end.
Okay.
But because there's three more topics, the third one is focus on yourself. That's literally what we're saying. Focus
There you
on
go.
yourself. Don't worry about other people. Damn it. Do you fix your
Do
stuff?
you?
And it's kind of a conundrum, and it's kind of weird and concerning why people just decide that they want to, bullies, if you will, they want to focus less on their own problems and more on how they can make somebody else's problems worse. Because if you're bullying someone for whatever reason you're bullying them, I'm sure they're aware of the thing that makes them different. You're not helping them, you're making it worse for them while your problems are still occurring. So
Right.
oh my God, I burped. I'm keeping that in. I'm not going to edit that. That's fun. You know what? Let's pretend we're live on the radio. I just burped and we're keeping it
Normalize
in.
burping.
Normalize burping.
It happens.
It does. Um, I wish I remembered the smart way of saying it because we learned in my psychology class. It may have been called it's not coalition. And it's a word that starts with a C, and I'm not remembering it. I'll have to find out later. But it's positive or negative. It was like the more you smoke, the less healthy you'll be. That's like a negative. Was it correlation? Maybe it might be correlation. I sound dumb
I
to
think
people
I
who are
think I
like,
think it might be correlation, but again, I haven't taken this class. But
well,
correlation sounds right because correlation is like one thing happens,
yeah,
another thing happens. It's like it correlates.
that's probably it. And if it's obvious, I'll look dumb to people, but that's okay. I don't care. Um,
Safe space
uh,
on the podcast. Safe space. No
yeah,
one's judging you.
yeah. Um, so let's say it's correlation. Yeah, like okay, if if you if you exercise more, you're more healthy. If you smoke more, you're less healthy. It's like I think anything that's like a good outcome, like for example, like eating healthy, you're more healthy. Like that's a positive correlation, but a negative
Right.
correlation would be, it's like you don't want the more and more combination with bullying, because if you're the bully,
Mm-hmm.
then your problems get worse. You are more problematic because you're not dealing with
Right.
your own stuff. You're not focusing on yourself. And then the person you're bullying is um, more unhappy. So it's more and more all around. you want them to be more happy, but you want you to be more happy as well. And I think that I'm getting too brainy here, and it's working
No,
against me
no,
because
it no, you, and I get it. And like, I think if everyone just focused more on themselves, it would just create this incredible wave of an impact to
yeah,
everyone around you. Because if you are focusing on you, you're going to be the best version of yourself.
that's right.
And if 10 people in a row do that, that's 10 more positive, great people in the world that will sprinkle their greatness all over everyone else. Like it it has to, it's that's just how it works. Like
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like people focusing on yourself is the best thing you can do, not only for yourself, but it will influence everyone else around you.
that's right. Even getting away from bullying, I think that if you're somebody who struggles, maybe even tying it back to comparison, if you're somebody who just feels like, and I'm kind of going through this, it's like I feel well, actually it kind of has to deal with another one of the two topics, but like pressure to succeed. So maybe I spend too much time looking at what other people are doing and not enough on what I'm doing, and that affects my mental health because I get stressed and I think about how this person's ahead but I'm behind. It's like it makes it feel like a race, but it's not a race. And I think if you focus on yourself and figure out how to just like, it's like I almost feel like if you're thinking about it in the long, if I'm trying to do a running metaphor, just if it's a whole marathon, right? That's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that's 26.2 miles. You just want to be able to finish. You'd rather do the work you can to be able to like keep running at a steady pace and not burn yourself out so much that you fall and can't finish the race. I think
Right.
whether that's therapy, seeking professional help, or it's finding your own routine, whether that's meditating, mindfulness, or you're talking to somebody, a loved one, friend, family member, whatever. I think find strategies that I mean, I'm not perfect at it, I'm not an expert, but I imagine that if you have some sort of, whether it's a routine or mantras or just goals you set for yourself to make yourself happier. It can be the little things. It can be, going for a walk that gives you that fresh air for however many minutes you have to walk a day. It can be, um, you know, not going on social media as much like I've been doing. That makes me feel a lot better because I don't see what
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is doing. I think if you
Yeah.
focus on yourself and not to saying that you shouldn't be engaged in the world, but
No.
make sure you prioritize you because you want to bring the best you can to the world. And if all the evil people, the bullies and all them focused on themselves more, heck, what if they had a positive way to start their day so they weren't taking it out on other people when they got to where they're
Right.
going?
Right.
Um, and bullying comes in many forms. It's not just children. I think it's,
No.
I mean, it's in society. No matter how old you are, you have the power to unfortunately take things out on other people. And it's very easy to do that. So I think the more you focus on you and the more everybody focuses on themselves, the more
Right.
happy they'll all be and the less evil they'll be and the more kind they'll be to each other.
Exactly.
All right, two more topics: pressure to succeed or mental health and pop culture. Which one first?
Mm. Let's do pop culture.
Okay. Um, there's a lot. There's always the thing about this one is it's always evolving because like right now, like I'd say probably the biggest thing going on is like if you're not following Kanye West and like Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson, like
Oh
that's a
God.
whole wild thing because like here's the thing. I'm gonna say this and I'm just gonna voice my opinion here. Like
Okay.
Kanye has like a reputation for being like narcissistic and egotistical, and I think all those are extremely valid and I would have to personally agree with based on his behavior. But that the interesting thing I think that people aren't thinking about is that he actually has been open about having bipolar disorder, and could some of
Right.
this behavior have to do with that? And it makes me wonder like how come, like I feel like maybe because he's a celebrity he doesn't get the same level of treatment. I'm not, if you're somebody who's strongly against Kanye, I'm not trying to piss you off and say, oh, I think that I'm team Kanye and that he's not crazy, and then someone's going to get mad at me because I'm saying he's not crazy when he is, whatever. Or if you are team Kanye, you probably don't even care what I'm thinking and you're just agreeing with everything he does and says. I'm kind of in the middle here. My opinion is, and I don't know, Lorraine, how have you followed? Do you follow Kanye
A
first of all?
little. I'm not well versed, but
Yeah. Cliff Notes version is Kanye West, Kim Kardashian together for years and years. They get divorced. Now she's with Pete Davidson, and Pete Davidson is this, famous comedian who
Yeah.
has been kind of it's become a sort of he's become the butt of a joke because he's tended to date a lot of famous
Yeah.
women in Hollywood.
Yeah. I know one of them.
Yeah, and now it's Kim Kardashian, and
Yeah.
so Kanye has been like harassing this guy Pete all over social media. Now,
Mm.
I personally think that it's not right. I think he's not with Kim anymore. She can go and date whoever she wants, and Pete, I don't think deserves that, and neither does Kim, and they have children, and it gets them involved. And I think the reason this all comes back to mental health is because my thing is, first of all, it's been going on a long time. This has been going on for weeks now, and it's like I I don't want to say that I support or disagree with Kanye because I'm kind of trying to take a
Mm.
neutral side here or a
Right.
neutral point of view. I think it is interesting because we live in a time when mental health is becoming so prevalent, but I'm not seeing people talk about Kanye's mental health history. If they
Right.
are attacking him, they're going straight to he's crazy. If they are supporting him, they're just also kind of ignoring the mental health piece of it and not
Right.
including that in their reasons for defending him, which if you are going to defend him, I would use the explanation of he may be having a manic episode
Right.
and that he's been known to have manic episodes. So my take on that's one example of how I feel like, are we not holding people in the public eye accountable in the same way, or we're not treating them the same way as we would everyday people, right?
Right.
Like that could
I think
be
it
there.
gets confusing for many people because they see these like popular, rich, successful figures and they're no longer like, I think people forget that they're people like us at the end
Yeah.
of the day. They have like the same works of the brain. Like they are human beings. And so like I feel like people like take out the humanity of them.
Yeah.
And so they don't really fully realize, oh, like they could be struggling with the same thing that I do every day,
Yeah.
but they don't see that because they're this public figure that supposedly is like a whole different creature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and like Britney Spears, the whole conservatorship thing, I think it's kind
Yeah,
of
that was a
died down
big
now.
thing. Yeah.
But that was crazy. Like I remember watching her on she was a judge on the X Factor in America when that
Right.
was on for a brief period of time. And I remember thinking at the time, she barely talked, which is like if you're a judge, you should be talking more. And she was like she just kind of was very much like direct and like she'd say yes or no to a contestant, no explanation. She would judge the performances and just be like, that was good and not give anything else. Not to mention they're hyping up that she's going to be on the show. They're paying her all this money. Like, because nowadays it's like all the biggest celebrities are the singing competition judges. But like 9, 10 years later, it comes out that was drugged during that time because as part of her conservatorship, she was, required to take whatever it was that affected her mood and her behavior and her mental health. I mean, her mental health suffered during this time of the conservatorship.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, I mean, she's also been extremely vocal on social media about how she feels like she's getting her life back, which I say good for her. The whole free
Right.
Britney movement. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all there with her. But crazy to think that, imagine what was she going through during this time, this long period of time where the whole world had their eyes on her. Little did they know until this point that she was suffering and that she was. It's like it's one thing to already be a celebrity and I feel like you've got the paparazzi, you've got your fans, you got everybody, all eyes are on you. As if that isn't enough pressure, being tied down in a conservatorship, like I mean, I think it's really great because I think it's educated a lot of people. I
Right.
don't know how many celebrities have experienced this. I'm sure that with this story, more stories will follow in her footsteps. More
Right.
more people will come out, kind of like any movement, the Me Too movement. One person shares their story, another one does, and it creates an effect that tries to create a
Absolutely.
better society. But my God, it's like these people that like just you think you know everything about them and you already taught them. Imagine the people like I mean, I'd say one fair criticism about Britney Spears is that she isn't the best singer, even though she's a pop star. Like her using auto tune and not having the greatest voice. But like, imagine getting that kind of negative feedback on top of being controlled by this conservatorship and her mental health at that time. I wonder if she'll release more music and what music would come from this time.
I
Imagine the
know.
truth that would come out in these lyrics, man. Like that would
I
be
know.
interesting.
I'm watching what she's gonna do next because I'm excited.
I think she's working on a book. I think. And then there's
That's
this whole
great.
drama, which I don't even know the half about her sister, who was the star of a show called Zoe 101 on
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
mm-hmm.
And
I
they're
wasn't I wasn't a Zoe 101 girl, but I know her. I know, yeah.
now Brittany and her sister Jamie are accusing each other of things, and you know then it's like then it gets complicated because then you're like, who's telling the truth here? But
Right.
you know, it's like, man, I wonder what it's like to be in the public eye when you've had all this controversy surrounded by you. You know, any story, and you think of any stories that stick out, any celebrities you know that you can think of their perhaps challenging mental health experiences.
I think it's really good to point out Demi Lovato.
Interesting.
Demi went through a lot. Demi came out with a documentary, a recent one, Dancing with the Devil, which
Yes.
was in correlation with Demi's new album that came out.
So funny. I was thinking about that earlier today.
Yeah, I love that album. It was so raw.
Yeah.
Demi really put out a lot of rawness with that album.
Yeah.
But oh my God, Demi went through so much. So
From a
much.
young age.
Young age, because Demi was thrown into that world. And Demi became this icon. You know, Disney boosted Demi up. Like, Demi was this Disney star.
Yeah.
Everyone looked up to Demi, and it caused an effect.
Demi Lovato, which fun fact that no one asked for, was a judge on the same season of X Factor as Britney Spears. I thought she was a very good judge, or she at the time, currently they. But yeah, no, Demi appeared very strong. I feel like put out so much music that was so empowering and inspiring, and many
Mm-hmm.
young girls looked up to Demi, and yet the battle that they were going through,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you don't always see it.
I
That's the thing, you
remember.
don't see
I
it.
think in Demi's documentary, I don't remember. Demi did one before Dancing with the Devil.
Yes.
I forget what it was called, but it's all on YouTube. Um, but on one of the documentaries, they said that they put Demi on to judge so that it was something that Demi could do as like an escape a bit.
Mm.
I remember they took away Demi's phone. So that whole time they were recording the show, Demi's focus was all on that. They
Wow.
stripped away their world.
So yeah, you have two judges on that panel. Actually, well, I said it was a fun fact no one cared about, but it's kind of interesting if you think about it now. You had two judges on a panel who both were having these secret battles.
I know, and then no one, and then no, it wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
Really. There was one song. It was off one of Demi's songs called "Sober."
Uh-huh.
That was that. Have you listened to that song?
I actually haven't listened to the full thing, but I know it
Oh
exists.
my God, that song makes me want to cry. It is so touching. One of the lines was, "I want to be a role model, but I'm only human," and that stuck with me because, mm, because essentially you are signing up to be a role model, but I think people forget what a role model is allowed to do. They should be allowed to make mistakes because that shows growth.
Yeah.
If they are going through something, they should be not afraid to, talk about it, because being a role model doesn't mean you're perfect. I
Yeah.
think people associate role model and perfect. It shouldn't be like that. A role model should not have to be perfect because there is no perfect human being. A role model is someone who you can look up to, but because they've grown and gone through so much that they came out on the other end, the higher end, the better end. That's what a role model should be. They shouldn't be someone who's like can't make a mistake or their life is perfect. So that's what I aspire to be, because at the end of the day, we're not all perfect. We all are going through something, whether you voice it or not. Someone is. And I think we forget that.
Mm-hmm. Janelle McCurdy, who was Sam on iCarly and then
Oh,
Sam and
yeah.
Cat, I remember when Sam and Cat got canceled, she just didn't want to do it anymore, and she basically admitted publicly, I don't want to be a role model. And at that age, it's like she's been through so much, she realizes, like, why am I expected? It's like, you can be someone people who they look up to, but you're not in charge of them. They don't, I mean, heck, it's like, it's one thing if you're talking about like world leaders, politicians, lawmakers, but like why they feel this pressure as celebrities in pop culture feel pressure to be the people that the young ones look up to. But really,
I
I mean,
know.
I kind of get what Jeanette said is like, well, I'm sorry you feel this way. Like, I'm sorry you don't really always like who I am, but it's like I should be able to be myself and not change who I am because of you and act a certain way because of you. I should be allowed to make my own decisions and not think about
Right.
how's it going to make you feel, because it's again, I don't know why. I almost feel like they're putting the same standard as like lawmakers or officials or politicians, like people who are there to be a role model, or at least try to be. But like, why are these celebrities who are, whether they're actors, singers, they feel a lot of pressure, and it's like I guess it's nice to be able to provide that, influence for young people. But if you're again, Jeanette McCurdy, she was young when they did that show. She's a kid, and then all these years later, it comes out that she has had a really rough home life, terrible eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention her character loves food, so imagine the
Yeah.
torture of that.
And she even I think admitted like she didn't really think the role that she played on iCarly was like purposeful.
Right,
She liked doing it, but she felt the character itself, Sam, like she didn't feel like she really provided much in terms
right,
of like what she did with that role for society. I mean, it was a
right.
great show. It's an iconic show as a whole. But I get what she's saying. Sam, she had some vulnerable moments, but really, she was this funny, sarcastic character.
Kind of hard when you love a show, but you later find out that somebody who's on that show was really struggling behind the scenes.
I know.
You love the show, but you don't like what they had to go through. It's hard
Right.
as a viewer. Um, Last topic: pressure to succeed.
Yeah.
I'll get right into it. Last night I just like I felt a wave of like, am I lacking purpose? I was like, because I'm not really a full-time student, I don't know where I'm ending up with school or when I'm even going to graduate or what the deal's with that after a year of thinking I never want to go to school. So that's been a roller coaster of like back and forth and trying to make my mind up, and then not having a job either. Like, I'm just like, I'm in the position of figuring stuff out in my life right now. And, you know, after a reminder from my parents that that's okay and that I'm 21 and that I'm young, I felt like I just felt so lonely and low and feeling like, like afraid of like, what if I never figure myself out? And I got like depressed because it's like, I'm not, like, I haven't figured that out. Like, I want to do, like, what makes me happy is podcasting and writing, and I wish I could do that all the time. But like, I've had the realistic perspective now that I need to find a way to support myself at some point. But then that doesn't always make you happy. And I don't even know. I've toyed with so many different potential career options as far as what I'm gonna do to support myself before I eventually live out my big dream, which is to do this podcasting and writing and TV producing all the time. I can't do that right now. I have to figure something out, and it's hard. It's really hard. And at the same time, like, I just feel pressure to like find a solution to be
Yeah.
happy and successful and productive.
Yeah, I think it's so scary because there's a lot of things that you just can't plan out. Like you're going through life and you hope that, something sticks and something lands. But when you're like floating around trying to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand how it can be so daunting and hard because uncertainty is it's rough.
Yeah. You ever feel the pressure, Lorraine, to succeed?
Yeah, I do. I it's a little different. I mean, maybe not because I don't know if you felt this way because you're kind of in the same boat, but like only children, it's like, your parents' pride and joy, right? And
Right.
you know, they're the only one like I'm the only one my parents have. I'm the only one that they have. So, when I leave the nest, meaning home, it's like what I do with my life, like that's kind of the only one they really get to explore. There's no
Mm-hmm.
other sibling. So if whatever I do with my life, I want them to be proud of me.
Right.
I like when people are proud. That's
Yeah.
just like my little thing. I like when people are proud of me. And when you're the only one, it's like you can't mess this up.
Mm.
And I know it's like kind of, not fair to like put that on my parents, but it's just how I feel. I feel pressured to, do so well, make good of my last name. And it's really scary because
Yeah.
there's no other sibling. Like, yeah, there's I don't have comparison issues with siblings, but it's really comparison with myself
Mm.
and judging myself. So I know what path I want to go through. I know what I want to do, but then it's the pressure of actually getting there
Mm-hmm.
and actually succeeding in that area and crossing that finish line.
Yeah.
So it's really pressure being the only one. And when your whole family knows what you want to do and you know it's just like that added pressure of like, okay, now I actually have to get there. And I know the path is going to be rough and it's going to be hard, but I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let myself down because for years I knew what I wanted to do. And if I don't get there, I don't want to say that because I'm trying to be positive with myself. Like, yeah, you're going to get there, but it's scary. Life is
Yeah.
scary.
I kind of get what you mean about parents. I mean, I always feel pressure to make them proud just because they've done so much for me, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just make something of myself for myself, but I want them to feel like that they raised me to go and conquer and that I do so successfully. And I feel that. I think if I had siblings, I wonder maybe I would struggle more with comparison of like feeling like what if I have a sibling that's doing more than I am or do accomplishing more and I might feel that comparison. So I think that there's different factors as to how I'd feel if I had siblings or not. Do you ever think about that? Like what would it be like if you had siblings and what that dynamic would be like?
I don't know. I don't really know if my feelings would change. So I
Mm-hmm.
still have the same aspirations. I'd still feel the same pressure of like to do them.
Yeah.
But it's like focus is not on one child, it's on more than one. So when you are the only focus in your parents' life,
Yeah.
it's like all eyes are on you.
Right. Yep.
Whereas like if you had multiple siblings, it would be like divided equally, of course, but like you know what I mean? Like it's not just you.
Right.
And when it is just you, it's like, oh my God, it's like you're in the spotlight. I just wanted to add though too, it hurts me to hear what you had to go through last night. Um, but I think, people who are listening to this and had similar nights that you had, I think it's good for anyone listening to know that you aren't alone in that feeling uncertain and feeling scared about life in the future. It's okay
Yeah.
to be, and we
Yeah.
should normalize that feeling, even though it's a rough one and a rough one to go through. You
Hmm.
aren't alone.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Lorraine. And to anybody listening, that's right. You're not alone. I mean, I can say like we all have moments.
Yeah.
We all do. I mean, we sometimes feel like we question everything at once. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere like it did for me, but hopefully it leads to growth and an understanding
Yes,
within
exactly.
yourself.
Those moments, those vulnerable and scary and emotional moments, that's what make you stronger.
Yep. That's right. Well, I think that's a pretty positive note to kind of wrap up on. Any final words of encouragement
Yeah.
or wisdom for
Um,
anybody listening?
yeah. Little Lorraine wisdom, just sprinkle it on to the mic. Um, there was this one quote, and I remember I think I discovered it in the conference that I did for anti-bullying, which was it costs $0 to be kind. I
Mm,
know that quote's probably floated and it's like kind of, cheesy, but it's true.
yeah.
It is the most free thing. Words are free.
Yeah.
Actions are mostly, free. So whatever you say and do, you just be kind. There's nothing holding you back. Everyone can be kind. So do that because it's a chain reaction. When one person's kind, you're setting an example for the next person to be kind. And if that chain keeps growing, the world will be a better place. So
Think about all the discussions we had about bullying and how it can make people's day so much worse to hurt them. Think about how much
Yeah.
better you can think about making a difference. Like you can make somebody's day
Yeah.
so much better. You never know how one word of kindness can make somebody's day. And that to me fills me with so much joy. Like if I can just let somebody know
Oh yeah.
that,
Yeah, I was walking through the hallway and I said hi to someone and they said, "You look so pretty, Lorraine."
oh,
And I was just like, wow. And I think the rest of the day, I think I had like a positive smile on my face the whole day. Like it made me feel so good. It was one comment, but that one comment was like, it boosted me so high. So you don't understand how big of an impact a little 3-word sentence can do.
yep. Absolutely right. Well, you know what? Be kind to somebody today. If you're listening to this podcast, let it inspire you to be kind. And if you enjoyed this conversation, check out more. We've got so many episodes for you. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube. Gotta love the video format. I think it's
Love
great.
the video format.
We want you to see the reactions. We want you to see everything on our faces because
Yes.
I think that's the way to do it with podcasts. I hope there's more and more of those in the future. And thank you guys so much. You can check out our website, mentalhealthonthemic.com. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Mental Health on the Mic. Lorraine, I hope you have a great day. Listeners,
Yes.
I hope you have a great day and have an awesome rest of your week, your month, your life. I don't know what I'm saying. All I know
Thank you for
is
listening to us.
that's right. Thank you for watching or listening to Mental Health on the Mic.